What would you do if you discovered your own company was betraying everything you built it for? Robert Harrington thought he knew his luxury suit empire inside and out. He was wrong. When sales reports revealed troubling patterns at his flagship store, he decided to do something no CEO of his stature would normally consider: go undercover among his own employees. What he discovered would shake him to his core. A dedicated store manager fighting against the tide. A young sales associate with natural talent being undermined by those above him. And a senior director whose ruthless tactics were about to be exposed in the most dramatic confrontation imaginable. The company was built on quality at various price points. Everyone deserves to feel special when they shop here. But not everyone agreed with this vision. And when two very different customers walk through the doors of Sovereign Suits on the same day, the stage will be set for a showdown that will change lives forever. This is the story of an undercover boss who thought he was investigating declining sales, but ended up uncovering a conspiracy that threatened the very soul of his company. Robert Harrington stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, gazing down at the bustling streets of Manhattan 40 floors below. At 58, his salt-and-pepper hair and tailored charcoal suit projected the exact image of success he had cultivated over 3 decades in the luxury fashion industry. As CEO of Sovereign Suits, he had transformed a single boutique into an empire of high-end menswear with locations in every major city across the country. His reflection stared back at him, the worry lines around his eyes more pronounced than usual. The quarterly report sat open on his mahogany desk behind him, the numbers telling a story he couldn't ignore any longer. Sales were declining at several locations, including their flagship store just 10 blocks away. Customer satisfaction scores had dipped. Something was wrong, and the spreadsheets couldn't tell him what. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. His executive assistant, Diana, entered with a fresh cup of coffee. "The board meeting is in 30 minutes, Mr. Harrington," she said, placing the steaming mug on his desk. "And your son called again about Sunday dinner." Robert nodded, turning away from the window. "Thank you, Diana. Tell them I'll be there shortly." Diana hesitated at the door. "Is everything all right, sir? You seem distracted lately." Robert picked up the sales report, tapping it with his index finger. "These numbers from the Madison Avenue store. They don't make sense. It's our showcase location, our crown jewel. We've invested millions in the renovation last year, hired top talent, curated the finest collection. And yet, the customer feedback, exactly. Mixed at best, terrible at worst. Something isn't adding up." He took a sip of coffee, his mind racing. What if the problem isn't visible from this office? What if I need to see it myself? Diana raised an eyebrow. "You mean visit the stores? You haven't done floor visits in years." "Not as Robert Harrington," he said, a plan forming in his mind. "The moment I walk in, everyone straightens up, puts on their best behavior. I need to see how things really operate when no one knows who I am." "You're thinking of going undercover?" Diana couldn't hide her surprise. Robert smiled for the first time that day. "Exactly. Set up a meeting with our HR director after the board meeting. And clear my schedule for next week." 1 week later, Robert barely recognized himself in the mirror of his hotel bathroom. The expert makeup artist from the company's advertising department had done an incredible job. His distinguished silver hair was now dyed a light brown with subtle gray streaks. A carefully trimmed beard covered his usually clean-shaven face. Color contacts changed his piercing blue eyes to a warm hazel. Even the way he carried himself was different. He had practiced slouching slightly, softening the military straight posture he'd maintained since his days at boarding school. He was no longer Robert Harrington, CEO of Sovereign Suits. He was now Tom Harris, a wealthy real estate developer from Chicago, in town for business and shopping. His phone buzzed with a text from Diana. "Driver will pick you up in 15. Everything's set at the store. Vanessa Mitchell is the manager on duty today." Robert had reviewed Vanessa's file thoroughly. 34 years old, with a company for 7 years, promoted to manager of the flagship store 18 months ago. Her performance reviews were stellar, though there had been some notes about high staff turnover in recent months. Corporate had attributed it to the competitive retail market, but now Robert wasn't so sure. The luxury sedan dropped him off a block away from the store. He wanted to approach like any other customer would from the street. As he walked the busy Manhattan sidewalk, he took notice of the competition. 3 other high-end menswear stores within 2 blocks. The retail landscape had certainly changed since he had last paid attention to street-level operations. The familiar facade of Sovereign Suits appeared ahead. The restored limestone building housed 3 floors of the finest menswear money could buy. Robert had personally overseen the architectural plans for the renovation, ensuring it struck the perfect balance between old-world elegance and modern luxury. He paused across the street, watching customers enter and exit. Most carried the distinctive navy blue shopping bags with the Silver Crown logo he had designed himself. But not as many bags as there should have been. Not for a Saturday afternoon in prime shopping season. Taking a deep breath, Robert crossed the street and approached the heavy glass doors. A young doorman in a perfectly fitted navy suit opened it with a practiced smile. "Welcome to Sovereign Suits, sir," he said with rehearsed enthusiasm. Robert nodded his thanks and stepped into the world he had created but somehow grown distant from. The interior was exactly as he remembered: marble floors, mahogany shelving, soft recessed lighting that made everything from the suits to the customers look their absolute best. The signature scent of sandalwood and cedar that was diffused throughout all Sovereign locations enveloped him. Yet something felt off. The energy was wrong. The sales associates moved efficiently, but without the passion he remembered instilling in his early days building the company. Customers browsed with interested expressions, but not the excitement Robert had once prided himself on creating. "May I help you find something today?" Robert turned to find a young man, perhaps in his mid-20s, approaching with a genuine smile. His name tag read Jackson Palmer, style consultant. "Just browsing for now," Robert replied, adopting a slight Midwestern accent he had practiced. "I've heard good things about your suits." "Well, you've come to the right place, sir. Is there a particular occasion you're shopping for?" Robert had his cover story ready. "Business meetings next week. Looking to make an impression." Jackson nodded enthusiastically. "We can definitely help with that. Our new spring collection just arrived, and we have some exceptional pieces that would make quite the statement in a boardroom." The young man's energy seemed authentic, not the forced salesmanship Robert had witnessed in some of the other associates already. He decided to test him. "I've shopped at your Chicago location before. The service there was exceptional." Jackson's expression faltered slightly. "I'm glad to hear that, sir. We strive for consistency across all our locations. If you'll follow me, I can show you our newest arrivals that would be perfect for business meetings." Robert followed Jackson through the main floor, taking mental notes of everything. The inventory seemed well-maintained, but he noticed several customers waiting unattended while sales associates chatted near the register. One associate was clearly on her personal phone behind a display, something strictly prohibited by company policy. Jackson led him to a beautifully arranged section featuring their premium line. "These are from our Sovereign Select collection, hand-tailored in Italy with the finest wools and silks." Robert ran his fingers over a charcoal suit jacket, immediately recognizing the superior craftsmanship. This was what had made Sovereign famous: uncompromising quality. At least that hadn't changed. "This is nice," Robert commented. "What's the price point?" "This particular model is $3,200, sir. But the craftsmanship makes it an investment that will last for years. Would you like to try it on?" Before Robert could answer, a commotion near the entrance caught his attention. A woman in her mid-30s had entered, professional attire suggesting management. She moved with purpose, quietly but firmly redirecting staff members who had been congregating. This had to be Vanessa Mitchell. "Perhaps in a moment," Robert told Jackson. "I'd like to look around a bit more first." As Jackson stepped back respectfully, Robert made his way toward a display of ties, positioning himself to observe Vanessa in action. She was clearly trying to maintain order without creating a scene in front of customers. Her expression was strained but professional as she spoke with the associate who had been on her phone. "Mr. Harris?" Jackson approached again. "If you're interested in that suit, I should mention that our alteration specialist is only here until 4 p.m. today. If you'd like any customizations, we should start the process soon." Robert checked his watch. It was already past 3. "Actually, I think I will try on that suit. And perhaps you can show me a few shirts and ties that would complement it." "Absolutely, sir. Right this way to our fitting rooms." The private fitting area was another level of luxury: spacious changing rooms with 3-way mirrors, comfortable seating, and a small refreshment bar offering water, espresso, and champagne. Robert had insisted on these details when designing the flagship store experience. "May I offer you a beverage while you try on the suit?" Jackson asked. "Just water is fine," Robert replied, taking the suit into the changing room. As he changed, he could hear Vanessa's voice outside, speaking quietly but firmly to someone. "I understand the pressure from corporate, but we can't keep pushing the premium collections exclusively. We're losing customers who feel intimidated by the prices." A female voice responded, too low for Robert to make out the words clearly. "That's not what Mr. Harrington would want," Vanessa continued. "The company was built on quality at various price points. Everyone deserves to feel special when they shop here." Robert smiled to himself. She was right, of course. That had always been his philosophy. Luxury should be accessible at different levels. Not everyone could afford the top-tier suits, but everyone deserved the sovereign experience. He emerged from the fitting room wearing the suit, which fit remarkably well off the rack. Jackson appeared immediately, professional but genuinely enthusiastic. "Sir, that looks exceptional on you. The shoulders are perfect. We may need minimal alterations at the cuffs, and perhaps a slight take-in at the waist." Robert examined himself in the mirror. The suit was indeed magnificent. He had approved this design himself months ago, but seeing it now on himself gave him a renewed appreciation for his company's craftsmanship. "What do you think of the cut?" Robert asked, testing Jackson's knowledge. "The modern slim cut works well with your frame, sir. It's our most popular silhouette this season. Conservative enough for business, but with contemporary details that keep it from feeling stuffy or dated." Vanessa Mitchell approached, her professional smile in place. "How are we doing over here, Jackson?" "Finding everything all right, sir." Robert turned to face her. "Yes, Jackson has been very helpful. I'm impressed with the selection. We're proud of our spring collection," Vanessa said. "Jackson, when you have a moment, can you check on the gentleman in fitting room 3? I think he needs different sizes." "Of course," Jackson replied. "Mr. Harris, would you like to see some shirt options while the alteration specialist measures you?" "That would be great," Robert confirmed. As Jackson stepped away, he turned to Vanessa. "You have a good team here." Vanessa's smile became more genuine. "Thank you. We're working on it. Jackson is one of our newer associates, but he has a natural talent for understanding what customers need." "That's rare," Robert commented. "I'm in business myself. Finding good people is always the challenge." "It certainly is," Vanessa agreed, a flash of something, worry, crossing her features before she masked it. "Especially in retail. The turnover can be challenging." Robert decided to probe a bit. "I've shopped at Sovereign before. The brand has a certain reputation. Has it been difficult maintaining that standard?" Vanessa hesitated, clearly choosing her words carefully. "Every luxury brand faces challenges in today's market. We strive to uphold the founder's vision while adapting to changing consumer expectations." "And what do you think the founder's vision was?" Robert asked, curious about her perspective. "Mr. Harrington built this company on the belief that every man deserves to feel exceptional in his clothing, regardless of his budget," she answered without hesitation. "That's something I try to remind our team every day." Robert nodded, impressed by her understanding of his core philosophy. Before he could respond, Jackson returned with an armful of shirts and ties. "I've selected a few options that would pair beautifully with this suit, Mr. Harris," he said. "And Alberto, our alteration specialist, is ready whenever you are." "Perfect," Robert replied. "Let's continue then." As he followed Jackson back toward the fitting rooms, Robert caught sight of a woman watching them from near the premium accessories counter. She was in her early 50s, impeccably dressed in a designer suit, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her name tag identified her as Isabel Winters, Senior Style Director. Something about her calculating gaze made Robert uneasy. He had come here looking for answers about declining sales and customer satisfaction. Already, he was beginning to sense that the answers might be more complicated and more troubling than spreadsheets could reveal. Tomorrow, he would return as Tom Harris once more, ready to dig deeper into the dynamics at play in the store he had built but somehow lost touch with. For now, he would complete his purchase, establishing himself as a valuable customer. The stage was set for what would happen next. Robert returned to Sovereign Suits the following day, once again disguised as Tom Harris. The Sunday afternoon crowd was different, fewer rushed businessmen and more leisurely shoppers. He had chosen this timing deliberately, hoping to observe the staff under different conditions. As he pushed through the revolving door, he spotted Jackson assisting an elderly gentleman with pocket squares. The young man's patience was evident as he carefully displayed various options, explaining the subtle differences in fabric and fold styles. Robert smiled to himself, pleased to see the same level of attentiveness Jackson had shown him being extended to a customer making a relatively small purchase. "Mr. Harris, welcome back." Robert turned to find Vanessa approaching, her professional smile warm and genuine. Today, she wore a navy pantsuit with a subtle pinstripe from Sovereign's women's line that they had launched 3 years ago, he noted with appreciation. "Ms. Mitchell, good to see you again," he replied, maintaining his Midwestern accent. "Your alterations should be ready by tomorrow morning." "Was there something else we could help you with today?" Robert nodded. "Actually, I was thinking about adding another suit to my wardrobe while I'm in town. Something more casual, perhaps, for evening events." "Of course. Jackson will be available shortly, or I can have another consultant assist you." "I was quite satisfied with Jackson's help yesterday," Robert said, watching her reaction carefully. Something flashed across Vanessa's features. "Concern? Jackson is excellent, but he's still learning our premium collections. Perhaps you prefer to work with someone more experienced today?" Isabel Winters, our senior style director, specializes in our luxury evening wear. Before Robert could respond, the front doors swung open dramatically, drawing everyone's attention. A man in his early 40s strode in like he owned the place. His custom suit, not Sovereign, Robert noted immediately, probably cost north of $5,000. His hair was perfectly coiffed, his Italian leather shoes gleaming, and his expression one of practiced superiority. "Damien." "Always a pleasure." Isabel Winters materialized seemingly from nowhere, gliding across the floor to greet the newcomer. Her entire demeanor had transformed from the calculating observer Robert had noticed yesterday to an almost sycophantic hostess. "Isabel, darling," the man Damien replied, air-kissing both her cheeks in a theatrical display. "Tell me you've set aside that smoking jacket I inquire about. The Wilson benefit is next weekend, and I simply must outshine Thornton's dreadful attempt at formal wear last year." Isabel laughed a bit too enthusiastically. "Of course I did. It's waiting for you in the private salon upstairs. I've also pulled several options for cufflinks that would complement it perfectly." Robert watched the interaction with keen interest. This was clearly a regular customer, one who spent considerably. But there was something off about the exchange, too familiar, too rehearsed. "I should check on something," Vanessa murmured beside him, her expression tight. "Jackson will be with you shortly, Mr. Harris." As Vanessa walked away, Robert decided to observe more before engaging with any sales associates. He moved toward a display of casual blazers, positioning himself where he could watch both Jackson finishing with his elderly customer and Isabel escorting Damien toward the staircase that led to the exclusive upper-floor salon. The store's atmosphere shifted subtly as Damien moved through the space. Sales associates straightened their posture, customers gave him curious glances, and Isabel narrated their progress loud enough for everyone to hear. "We've just received the new Milanese silk blend ties you prefer, Damien. And the manager at Chateau Lafayette called personally to confirm your dinner reservation for 8. I took the liberty of having your usual table arranged." Robert frowned. Sovereign had strict policies against arranging personal services for customers. The boundary between luxury service and inappropriate familiarity was clear in the company handbook he had written himself. Just as Damien and Isabel reached the stairs, the front door opened again. This time, a man in his mid-30s entered. He was dressed in a clean but clearly off-the-rack suit that had seen better days. His shoes were polished but well-worn, and he carried himself with quiet dignity rather than Damien's bombastic confidence. The contrast between the two men couldn't have been more stark. While Damien demanded attention, this new customer seemed almost apologetic about taking up space. He stood just inside the entrance, taking in the opulent surroundings with a mixture of appreciation and intimidation. Robert watched as several sales associates glanced at the new arrival, then quickly found other tasks to occupy themselves. No one approached to offer assistance. Finally, Jackson, having finished with his elderly customer, noticed the man waiting. He immediately crossed the floor with a welcoming smile. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Sovereign Suits. My name is Jackson. How may I assist you today?" The man seemed relieved to be acknowledged. "Hello. I'm Rafael Morales. I'm looking for a suit for my sister's wedding. It's my first time here. Congratulations on your sister's wedding. We'd be honored to help you find something perfect for the occasion. What kind of suit did you have in mind? Raphael hesitated. Something nice, but I need to be mindful of my budget. I'm a school principal, not a Wall Street guy. He attempted a self-deprecating laugh. To his credit, Jackson's smile never wavered. We have excellent options at various price points. Why don't we start by determining your style preferences? Then it can focus on suits that meet both your taste and budget. Robert felt a surge of pride watching Jackson handle the situation exactly as he would have wanted, with respect and without judgment. This was precisely the ethos he had tried to instill in Sovereign from the beginning. From her position on the staircase, Isabel had paused, watching the interaction with obvious displeasure. She whispered something to Damien, who glanced back and smirked before they continued upstairs. Robert decided it was time to engage. He approached Jackson and Raphael, putting on his Tom Harris persona once more. "Jackson, good to see you again," he said warmly. Jackson turned, his face lighting with recognition. "Mr. Harris, I'm glad you came back. I was just about to help Mr. Morales find a suit for a special occasion. If you'll give me just a moment." "No rush at all," Robert assured him. "I'm happy to browse while you assist this gentleman." Raphael shifted uncomfortably. "Please, if you were here first." "Absolutely not," Robert insisted. "Your sister's wedding is clearly the priority here. Jackson, I think Mr. Morales deserves your full attention. I can wait or find another associate." "Thank you, sir," Jackson replied. "I shouldn't be too long. In the meantime, you might want to look at our new casual collection over there. I think the navy linen blend would be excellent for evening events." Robert nodded and moved in the direction Jackson had indicated, but positioned himself where he could still observe their interaction. He watched as Jackson led Raphael to a section featuring the company's entry-level luxury line, still excellent quality, but about half the price of their premium collections. "These suits are some of our most popular," Jackson explained. "The craftsmanship is outstanding, and they're designed to last for years with proper care." Raphael tentatively touched the sleeve of a charcoal gray suit. "This is beautiful." "Is it within reach?" Jackson discreetly showed him the price tag. "This one is $1,200, which includes basic alterations. We also offer payment plans if that helps." "That's actually less than I expected," Raphael admitted with visible relief. "I've been saving for this. My sister has done so much for me, put me through college when our parents couldn't. I want to look my best for her big day." "You will," Jackson assured him. "Would you like to try it on?" As Raphael nodded, Robert noticed Vanessa emerging from the back office, deep in conversation with a young woman who appeared to be another sales associate. Vanessa's expression was concerned, and the associate looked upset. Robert strained to overhear their conversation. "Fourth time this month, Vanessa. I can't keep losing commissions because Isabel takes over my high-spending customers. I know Olivia. I've addressed it with her, but she insists it's what Mr. Harrington would want, the most experienced associate handling the top clients. But it's not fair. I brought in the Wilsons, spent hours with them, and then suddenly Isabel is completing their sale and taking my commission." Robert frowned. This wasn't at all what he would want. His compensation structure had been designed specifically to reward associates for building client relationships, not poaching sales. His attention was drawn back to Jackson and Raphael, who were now moving toward the fitting rooms. Before they could reach them, Isabel descended the staircase alone, her eyes narrowing as she spotted them. "Jackson," she called out sharply. "A word, please." Jackson hesitated, glancing at Raphael apologetically. "Would you mind waiting just a moment, Mr. Morales? The fitting rooms are just ahead. Perhaps you could start looking at shirt options in that display while I speak with my colleague." "Of course," Raphael replied politely, though Robert could see the man's discomfort. As Jackson stepped aside to speak with Isabel, Robert pretended to examine a display nearby, straining to hear their conversation. "What are you doing with him in the premium section?" Isabel hissed, not bothering to lower her voice much. "Look at his shoes, for God's sake. He belongs in the clearance section at best." "Mr. Morales is shopping for his sister's wedding," Jackson responded, keeping his voice measured but firm. "The suit he selected is within his budget, and it's appropriate for the occasion." "We have an image to maintain," Isabel insisted. Sovereign Suits is aspirational. People like him dilute the brand. Mr. Harrington would be appalled. Robert nearly broke character, hearing his name invoked to justify such elitism. This was the antithesis of everything he believed. With all due respect, Jackson replied, I don't think that's true. Our mission statement is clear about welcoming all customers who appreciate quality, regardless of their background. Isabel's expression hardened. You've been here, what, 6 months? I've been with Sovereign for 15 years. I think I know what Mr. Harrington values. She glanced toward Raphael, who was pretending not to hear the exchange. Fine. Handle your bargain hunter. But keep him away from the VIP area. Damien Frost is upstairs finalizing a 5-figure purchase. As Isabel stalked away, Robert saw Jackson take a deep breath before returning to Raphael with a composed smile. Sorry about that. Let's get you into that fitting room. Robert decided to follow the two men, curious to see how Jackson would recover from the uncomfortable moment. As they reached the fitting area, Jackson pulled the charcoal suit in Raphael's size and handed it to him. The changing room has everything you'll need. Take your time, and I'll be right here when you're ready. Raphael took the suit and entered the fitting room. Once the door closed, Jackson's professional smile faltered for just a moment, revealing his frustration with the earlier interaction. Robert approached him. Everything all right? Jackson quickly composed himself. Yes, Mr. Harris. Just a small disagreement about store policy. Nothing to worry about. I'll be with you as soon as I've helped Mr. Morales. No rush, Robert assured him. Actually, I overheard some of that exchange. Does that happen often? Jackson hesitated, clearly torn between professionalism and honesty. We sometimes have different interpretations of customer service, he finally said diplomatically. Before Robert could probe further, the fitting room door opened and Raphael emerged wearing the charcoal suit. Despite the mid-range price point, the suit looked impressive on his athletic frame. That fits you remarkably well, Jackson said, genuine enthusiasm in his voice. We'll need to adjust the sleeve length slightly and perhaps take in the waist a bit, but the shoulders are perfect. Raphael examined himself in the 3-way mirror. It feels amazing. I've never had a suit that fit like this. Quality tailoring makes all the difference, Jackson explained. Let's try it with a shirt and tie to get the full effect. As Jackson went to retrieve some options, Robert noticed Damien Frost descending the staircase alone, a self-satisfied smirk on his face. The man spotted Raphael in the fitting area and paused, his expression turning contemptuous. Robert felt a tingle of unease. Something about Damien's demeanor suggested trouble. He decided to position himself closer to Raphael, pretending to examine a display of cufflinks near the fitting area. Damien sauntered over, his eyes fixed on Raphael in a way that reminded Robert of a predator assessing prey. Well, what have we here? Someone's playing dress-up today. Raphael stiffened but maintained his dignity. Good afternoon. Do you know what that suit costs? Damien asked, his tone condescending. More than a month's salary for someone like you, I'd wager. I'm aware of the price, Raphael replied quietly. It's a special occasion. Damien circled him, making a show of examining the suit. I'm trying to impress someone. The fabric is decent enough, but it's clearly from their budget line. Anyone who knows quality can spot the difference immediately. Robert's hands clenched into fists at his sides. He was about to intervene when Isabel appeared, immediately gravitating to Damien's side. Is there a problem here? She asked, her tone suggesting Raphael was the issue. Just giving some friendly advice, Damien replied with a smirk. Sovereign's reputation is built on dressing successful men. Some people might be better served elsewhere. Isabel nodded in agreement. We do cater to a certain clientele. Raphael's face flushed with embarrassment, but he stood straighter. I understand quality, and I can appreciate craftsmanship. I may not be your typical customer, but I value what a well-made suit represents. How quaint, Damien scoffed. Jackson returned with shirts and ties, immediately sensing the tension. Mr. Morales, I found several options that would complement your suit beautifully. He looked between Damien and Isabel. Is everything all right here? Just fine, Isabel said dismissively. Mr. Frost was sharing his expertise. He's one of our most valued clients. I see, Jackson replied neutrally. Mr. Morales is also a valued client who deserves our full attention and respect. Damien laughed. Client. One purchase hardly makes him a client. I spend more on pocket squares than his entire outfit. Robert had seen enough. He stepped forward, adopting his Tom Harris persona. Excuse me, but I couldn't help overhearing. Is this how Sovereign Suits treats its customers now? Based on the size of their wallet rather than the content of their character. Isabel turned to him, her expression shifting to customer service mode. Mr. Harris, I assure you we value all our customers. Mr. Frost was simply being a bully, Robert interrupted bluntly. And you were encouraging him. Damien drew himself up indignantly. Do you know who I am? Someone who believes money buys class, Robert replied evenly. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Vanessa Mitchell appeared, drawn by the escalating situation. Is there a problem here? Before anyone could respond, Isabel spotted something on the sleeve of Raphael's suit and gasped dramatically. Oh my goodness! Look at that. Everyone's attention turned to where she was pointing. A dark smudge marred the light gray fabric of the left sleeve. That wasn't there before, Raphael said, examining the mark with confusion. You've damaged the merchandise, Isabel accused, her voice raised enough to draw attention from nearby customers. That suit costs $1,200. Raphael paled. I didn't. I was careful. It looks like pen ink, Isabel continued, her voice taking on a performative quality that made Robert instantly suspicious. Did you have a pen in your pocket? These suits are delicate. I don't have a pen with me, Raphael protested, growing distressed. Robert watched Isabel carefully and noticed something that made his blood boil. A fountain pen peeking from her suit jacket pocket, the same dark blue as the mark on Raphael's sleeve. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. She had deliberately marked the suit when she approached, creating a scenario to humiliate Raphael. You'll have to pay for it now, Isabel insisted. Store policy on damaged merchandise is very clear. Damien smirked, clearly enjoying the spectacle. Perhaps next time you'll shop somewhere more appropriate for your budget. Raphael looked stricken. I don't have that kind of money on me. I was planning to use a payment plan. Then I suggest you call someone who can help you, Isabel said coldly. Because you're not leaving with that suit, and you're not leaving without paying for the damage. Jackson stepped forward. This isn't right. Mr. Morales has been nothing but respectful. We don't even know how that mark got there. Are you questioning my integrity? Isabel snapped. I've been with this company since before you were out of high school. The tension in the room was palpable. Other customers had stopped browsing to watch the drama unfold. Raphael stood frozen in humiliation. Isabel looked triumphant, and Damien watched with barely concealed amusement. Jackson seemed torn between defending his customer and respecting his superior, while Vanessa appeared genuinely distressed by the entire situation. Robert had seen enough. This was the moment everything changed. What happened next would shock everyone in the store and reveal truths that had been hidden far too long. Robert stepped forward, his disguise no longer necessary. The time for observation was over. That's enough, Isabel, he said, his voice dropping the Midwestern accent and returning to his natural, authoritative tone. The sudden change drew everyone's attention. Isabel's eyes narrowed in confusion. Excuse me? Mr. Harris, this doesn't concern. My name isn't Tom Harris, Robert interrupted, reaching up to remove the colored contacts that had changed his eye color. I'm Robert Harrington, CEO and founder of Sovereign Suits. The revelation landed like a thunderclap in the suddenly silent store. Isabel's face drained of color. Damien took an involuntary step backward. Jackson's mouth fell open in shock. Vanessa gasped audibly, her hand flying to her mouth. That's impossible, Isabel stammered. Mr. Harrington is in London for the European expansion meetings. A cover story, Robert replied calmly, removing his fake beard with practiced movements. I've been undercover for 2 days, observing what happens in my flagship store when no one thinks I'm watching. Store associates and customers alike had frozen in place, creating an audience for the unfolding drama. Robert turned to Raphael, who stood bewildered in his stained suit. Mr. Morales, I sincerely apologize for your treatment today. Please know that this is not what Sovereign Suits represents. Raphael nodded mutely, still processing the bizarre turn of events. Robert turned his attention back to Isabel, whose shock was rapidly transforming into fear. I saw you mark Mr. Morales' suit with your fountain pen. He pointed to the pen still visible in her pocket. The same pen that's in your jacket right now. Gasps echoed through the store. Isabel's hand instinctively covered the pin. Mr. Harrington, I can explain. Can you also explain why you've been selling customer information to our competitors? Robert asked, his voice hard as steel. Isabel's face went from pale to ashen. What are you talking about? Our IT department flagged unusual access patterns to our client database 3 months ago. Someone was downloading customer profiles, spinning habits, measurements, preferences, and sending them outside our network. We installed monitoring software, but couldn't identify who was responsible. Robert turned to Damien, whose smug expression had vanished entirely. Until now. Hello, Mr. Frost. Or should I say, David Fisher, VP of Marketing at Westmore Clothiers, our biggest competitor. The assembled crowd murmured in shock. Damien, or David, began edging toward the exit. Security is already at all doors, Robert informed him calmly. The police have been notified about your industrial espionage. Both of you have been stealing customer data and deliberately driving away customers who don't fit your personal idea of who belongs at Sovereign. Vanessa stepped forward. Mr. Harrington, I had no idea this was happening. I noticed customer complaints increasing, but Isabel insisted she was handling our most valuable clients personally. I know, Vanessa, Robert assured her. Your concerns about declining customer satisfaction were what prompted this investigation in the first place. Raphael cleared his throat. Sir, I think I should go. Actually, Mr. Morales, if you could stay a moment longer, Robert requested. There's something else that needs to be addressed. He turned to Isabel. You didn't recognize Raphael, did you? Isabel looked at Raphael with genuine confusion. Should I have? Raphael Morales was one of our top-performing associates at our Chicago location 7 years ago, Robert revealed. Until you had him terminated during a visit there. Raphael's eyes widened in recognition. You're that Isabel, the regional director who said I didn't have the right image for the brand. I review thousands of employees, Isabel said defensively. I can't be expected to remember everyone. But Raphael remembered you, Robert continued. And after you had him fired, he went back to school, earned his master's degree in education, and became a principal at one of Chicago's most improved public schools in the last 5 years. Raphael stood taller now, the humiliation of moments ago replaced with quiet dignity. I came here today because my sister is getting married. But I also wanted to prove something to myself, that I belong in places like this, that no one has the right to make me feel less than. Robert turned to Isabel and David, who now looked like they wanted to disappear. This is exactly why I founded Sovereign Suits. Because quality and respect should be available to everyone, not just those with the fattest wallets or the right connections. He addressed the entire store now. When I started this company 30 years ago, I made a promise. Everyone who walks through our doors deserves the same exceptional experience. We sell luxury, yes, but we don't sell exclusivity at the expense of human dignity. Robert turned to Jackson. You understood that instinctively. Your treatment of every customer, from the elderly gentleman buying a single pocket square to Mr. Morales to me in my disguise, was exactly what I envisioned for this company. Jackson looked both stunned and honored. Thank you, sir. I was just doing my job. You were doing it extraordinarily well, Robert corrected. Which is why, effective immediately, you're being promoted to senior style consultant. A spontaneous round of applause broke out among the other associates. Robert raised his hand for silence. As for you two, he said, turning back to Isabel and David, security will escort you to my office where you'll wait for the authorities. The evidence of your data theft and sabotage is already being compiled by our legal team. Security personnel appeared on either side of the pair, making it clear there was no escape. As they were led away, Robert returned his attention to Raphael. Mr. Morales, that suit is on the house, a new one, of course, not the ruined one. And I'd like to offer you something else, your job back if you want it. Not in Chicago, but here as our new director of client experience. We clearly need someone with your perspective and integrity. Raphael looked stunned. I'm honored, Mr. Harrington, but I have students who depend on me. I understand completely, Robert nodded. The offer remains open, and I'd also like to discuss a potential partnership between Sovereign and your school. Perhaps an internship program for students interested in business or fashion. That would be incredible, Raphael said, his voice thick with emotion. Robert addressed the rest of the store. To everyone here today, staff and customers alike, Thank you for being part of this revelation. Sovereign Suits is recommitting to its founding principles: excellence without exclusion, luxury without elitism, and respect for every person who walks through our doors. The store erupted in applause. Vanessa approached Robert, still looking slightly shell-shocked. Mr. Harrington, if I had known about Isabel's actions. You raised concerns through proper channels, Robert assured her. That's exactly what you should have done. Now we rebuild. Starting with making sure Mr. Morales gets the perfect suit for his sister's wedding. As the excitement settled, Robert personally helped Jackson and Raphael select a new suit, shirts, and accessories. The three men fell into easy conversation about fabric quality, cut, and the power of proper tailoring. Other customers resumed their shopping, now with a palpable sense of being part of something special. Later that evening, after the store had closed, Robert gathered the entire staff. He shared his vision for Sovereign's future, answered questions honestly, and listened to concerns. The toxic culture Isabel had cultivated began to dissolve in the face of open communication and renewed purpose. As for Raphael, he left with not just a perfect suit for his sister's wedding, but with his dignity fully restored and a standing invitation to return, not as someone who needed to prove he belonged, but as someone who had helped Sovereign Suits remember what it stood for. Sometimes Robert reflected as he watched the last employees leave for the night. You have to go undercover to rediscover what has been hiding in plain sight all along, that the true measure of luxury isn't in its exclusivity, but in how it makes people feel when they experience it. That was a lesson worth learning again, even for the boss who thought he already knew everything about his own company.